Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
He's at the 20.
They should stop this one.
What you got? Domination, snot bubbles.
He throws, complete, touchdown. They've got him again. They've got him again. Sack Crumpler, what a throw, what a hit, what a catch.
Defense is just way too much for the Cowboys.
It's caught by Alshon Jeffrey for a touchdown. He pushes, touchdown. Jalen Hurts, touchdown. A.J. Brown, a run. He's going to score.
It's a touchdown by Nick Foles.
The train is in the end zone. Touchdown.
Torrey Smith
In for the touchdown is Jefferson. In. Touchdown. Jalen Hurts.
So the first week of the preseason is now over, and with Tanner McKee balling out along with multiple second and third team players last night against the Bengals, we have to dive right into it. And I'm sure you already know this, but first, and of course, Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson got cooked last night. And I could go all day about the terrible performance from Kelee and Adoree, but it was so bad. The Bengals first team starters targeted Kelee and Jackson side of the football over and won just about every single time. And especially after Kelee Ringo got beat in coverage on a poor and effortless attempt to tackle Ja'Marr Chase, allowing Chase to go 4 for 77 yards and a touchdown. And Adoree Jackson got beat on a touchdown, but that was called back. And I gotta be honest, I have officially began to lose all hope for Kelee Ringo.
Watch this. Son, if you can't tackle one-on-one in the National Football League, we're going to sit you down.
Because if you can't cover elite receivers like Ja'Marr Chase, how are you going to fare against other elite receivers like George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb in week 1 against the Cry Girls? Because Quinyon Mitchell, according to Fangio, will travel with the number 1 receiver in live games, and that leaves Ringo in coverage against the easier matchups on guys like George Pickens. And I use that word loosely because Pickens isn't a CeeDee Lamb, but he isn't too far off in terms of just being a pure great wide receiver. I mean, look at this. Ringo and Jackson combined allowed 9 targets, 8 catches allowed on 1 drop, 124 yards, and a touchdown. My God, that's ridiculous. And if that isn't a sign that we're in some trouble here at the cornerback position, then I don't know what is. Look, I'm not the type to panic, even though internally I do worry, and I say we may be in trouble because if Jacorian Bennett can't grasp that cornerback position, take over that spot by at least the 3rd week of training camp and the preseason, then that cornerback position is going to be the weakest link on the defense. I'm not going to ring the alarm bells just yet, but fingers crossed Bennett can be very serviceable in the secondary. He has to be, and he has similar speed to Isaiah Rodgers, not as tall in height, but if he can come and grasp and perform well in Fangio's defense, that will solve some of the issues in the secondary. Now, Sidney Brown got nicked and went down last night. He went to the blue tent for a while, but he eventually came out and sat on the sideline. He was still in his pads reportedly and everything on, so no worries there. But to keep an eye on that. And Brown had a pretty decent game last night. But as soon as he went down, I immediately thought about Justin Simmons because with the veteran being cheap and still has some good years in front of him, I definitely think how we should give his agent a call. No, I'm not out on Sidney Brown, but the best ability is availability, and the injuries continue to pile up with Sidney Brown. Now, knock on wood, if there is a situation where he goes down during the season at the safety position, the depth could put a bandage over that. With rookie Drew Makuba already there, it would be still some depth, but not much if Simmons isn't there. But if he is, that veteran presence in the locker room would also help, and he isn't a scrub. Simmons can still play, so let's look out for that on Brown's side. But he did walk out of the stadium. He's not, seriously injured or anything. Just something to keep an eye on with Sidney Brown. And speaking of something to keep your eye on, Ainias Smith had a really good run on special teams last night. He really shined, him along with Jahan Dotson, who has some great connections. But who really showed out last night was Darius Cooper, who led the receivers in receptions and yards, 6 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Right behind him was Johnny Wilson catching damn near all of his passes, going for 3 receptions and 73 yards and a touchdown. That's all we asked and wanted from Johnny Wilson. And I only carved out a little piece of the show yesterday to talk about Wilson because he wasn't making those catches in camp. And that just goes to show you, well, first, I was wrong about Wilson. And secondly, you have to take what these guys are doing in camp with a massive grain of salt, because sometimes, they can have a struggling camp. They can struggle in practice, or they might not be seeing it. But when it comes to live games and the lights are on, those are the games that really matter. And Johnny Wilson really performed last night.
Be sure to subscribe to Eagle Centric. Joint practice is right around the corner. Preseason is now here, and football is back. So go subscribe now to Eagle Centric to get your latest Eagles topics, news, and even more, like jerseys, of course, home or away. Once we get to 2,000 subscribers, giving away to you an Eagles tickets for your liking, of your liking. Doesn't matter, whatever you like. You know the routine. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Be blessed. Go Birds.